My wife said she was sharing a suite with her ex because of company policy. I didn't argue. I forwarded the hotel invoice to her CFO. His three-word reply ended her career. She didn't know I'd found a champagne service and couples massage. Some men accept betrayal quietly. I'm not one of them. My name is Gerald Thornton. I'm 44 years old, and I own a building materials supply warehouse on the industrial side of Columbus, Ohio. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest. I built that business from nothing, starting with a single truck and a willingness to haul lumber at dawn. Now I employ 17 people and move enough concrete, steel, and timber to keep half the contractors in Franklin County running. Monica, my wife of nearly 2 decades, works as a human resources manager at Blackstone Logistics. She's good at her job, the kind of person who can smooth over labor disputes and make firing people seem almost compassionate. We have 2 kids. Taylor, our 17-year-old daughter, is a senior at Westerville High, already eyeing colleges. Justin, our 14-year-old son, lives for basketball and video games, in that order. That Tuesday, I was in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner. Monica was upstairs packing, which wasn't unusual. Her job requires travel, maybe once a month. Sales conferences, training seminars, the occasional crisis at one of their regional facilities. I'd gotten used to it over the years. She came downstairs dragging her roller bag, that sleek black Samsonite she bought last year. Her movements were brisk, efficient, like she was checking items off a mental list. "So this trip," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "It's the Regional Operations Review in Denver. 3 nights. I nodded, drawing a plate. "You mentioned it last week." "Right." She paused, adjusting the handle on her bag. "The thing is, Dominic's going too. He's presenting the operational efficiency metrics." Dominic Fletcher, her colleague, the director of operations. I'd met him twice at company events. Mid-30s, slick hair, the kind of guy who wears expensive watches and talks about optimization like it's a religion. "Okay," I said slowly. Monica cleared her throat. "The company's been pretty strict about travel budgets this quarter. They're only approving 1 room per team. So Dominic and I are sharing a suite." I stopped drying the plate. "Sharing a suite. It's company policy now," she said quickly. "Budget cuts. The suite has 2 separate bedrooms, practically like separate rooms. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal." Those 4 words landed like a brick through glass. "Monica," I said, keeping my voice level, "you're telling me you're sharing a hotel suite with another man for 3 nights, and I'm supposed to be fine with that because it's company policy?" She sighed. That particular exhale she uses when she thinks I'm being unreasonable. "Gerald, we're professionals. We work together every day. This is a business trip, not a vacation." "Then why didn't you tell me until now?" "You've known about this trip for 2 weeks. Because I knew you'd react exactly like this." Her tone sharpened. "It's not the 1950s anymore. Men and women can be colleagues without it meaning something." Taylor appeared at the top of the stairs, earbuds in, but I could tell she was listening. Monica noticed too and lowered her voice. "Look, I have to leave for the airport in 20 minutes. Can we not do this right now?" I set the plate down carefully. "Do what?" "Have a conversation about my wife sharing a hotel room with another man." "It's a suite, Gerald. And yes, we're professionals doing professional work." She picked up her bag. "I'll call you when I land." She kissed me on the cheek, that same perfunctory gesture she'd been using for months now. No warmth, no reassurance, just obligation. The front door closed. Through the window, I watched her taillights disappear down Maple Grove Drive. I stood there in the kitchen, dish towel in hand, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not anger yet. Something quieter, more dangerous. Calculation. Because if Monica thought I was going to sit at home and accept this without question, she didn't know me nearly as well as she thought she did. 19 years of marriage had taught me plenty about my wife. But apparently, I still had some things to learn. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my home office with a bourbon I didn't drink and Monica's tablet open in front of me. She'd left it charging on her desk, probably figured she wouldn't need it for a 3-day trip. What she forgot was that we share the same cloud account, set up years ago when we were actually talking about being a team. The hotel confirmation loaded on the screen within minutes. The Riverside Summit, Denver. 1 executive suite, 3 nights. Monica Thornton and Dominic Fletcher listed as guests. Room rate, $2,100. Charged a Blackstone Logistics corporate card. But it was the amenities section that made my jaw tighten. Premium bar package, couple spa access, late checkout privilege, champagne, turn-down service. I took a screenshot, saved it to my personal drive, then opened a new email. The recipient took me a minute to find. Richard Kellerman, CFO of Blackstone Logistics. His email was public on the company website, listed under executive leadership. I never met the man, but Monica had mentioned him before, usually in the context of someone who didn't tolerate waste or policy violations. Subject line, expense clarification request. I kept the body simple, professional, the kind of language I used when dealing with suppliers who try to overcharge me. Mr. Kellerman, I'm writing regarding a hotel booking made through Blackstone Logistics for the Denver Operations Review. The attached invoice shows a shared suite accommodation for 2 employees, Monica Thornton and Dominic Fletcher, with amenities that appear to exceed standard business travel guidelines. I'm requesting clarification on whether this arrangement complies with company expense policy and appropriate professional boundaries. Please confirm this meets your approval standards. I attached the PDF screenshot, double-checked the recipient address, and hit send at 11:47 p.m. Then I closed the laptop and finally took that sip of bourbon. Monica called the next morning from Denver. I was at the warehouse, checking inventory sheets with my operations manager, when her name lit up my phone. Hey, I answered, keeping my tone neutral. Just landed, she said. Bright, cheerful like nothing was wrong. Flight was smooth. Hotel's nice. Good to hear. A pause. You sound distracted. I'm at work, Monica. Kind of busy. Right. Another pause, longer this time. Taylor asked if you could pick her up for volleyball practice at 6. I forgot to mention it before I left. I'll handle it. Okay. Well, I should go. Dominic's waiting at baggage claim. Of course he was. Have a productive trip, I said, and ended the call before she could respond. By 2:30 that afternoon, my phone buzzed with a new email. The sender, Richard Kellerman. The entire message was 3 words. Thanks. We'll handle this. I read it twice, then leaned back in my office chair. 3 words, but they carried weight. Corporate speak, for we're looking into it. For someone just to open a file. For this is now on record. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. I'd set the machine in motion. Now I just had to wait and watch it work. That evening, I picked up Taylor from practice like I promised. She tossed her gym bag in the back seat and climbed in, her hair still damp from the locker room showers. Mom make it to Denver okay? She asked. Yeah. She called this morning. Taylor pulled out her phone, scrolled for a moment, then looked at me. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think Mom's trip is actually just for work? I glanced over at her. 17 years old, but sometimes she seemed older, more observant than Monica gave her credit for. Why do you ask? She shrugged, but her expression stayed serious. I don't know. She's been weird lately. On her phone a lot. Kind of distant. I turned my attention back to the road. People get stressed with work. It happens. Yeah. Taylor didn't sound convinced. I guess. We drove in silence for a few blocks. Then she spoke again, quieter this time. If something's wrong, you tell us, right? Me and Justin. I reached over and squeezed her shoulder. When there's something you need to know, I'll tell you. I promise. She nodded and went back to her phone. But her question stayed with me the rest of the drive home. Because the truth was, I didn't know yet what was wrong or how bad it was going to get. I just knew that email I'd sent wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. Monica called that evening around 8. I was helping Justin with algebra homework at the dining room table when my phone buzzed. Hey, I said, putting her on speaker so I could keep checking Justin's equations. Hi. Sorry I didn't call earlier. The sessions ran late. Her voice sounded tired, or maybe just careful. How was your day? Busy. Shipment of rebar came in wrong gauge. Had to sort out with the supplier. I circled a mistake in Justin's work. How's the conference? Fine. Productive. A pause. The hotel's actually really nice. The suite has great views of the mountains. The suite. She said it so casually, like it was perfectly normal. That's good, I said. Dominic enjoying the views too? Silence on the other end. Justin looked up from his homework, sensing the shift in tone. Monica cleared her throat. Gerald, can we not do this while I'm trying to work? Do what? Ask about your accommodations. Make it sound like something it isn't. Her voice had an edge now. We're professionals on a business trip. That's all this is. Justin quietly gathered his books and left the table. Smart kid, knowing when to make himself scarce. I took her off speaker. Monica, I'm not stupid. You're sharing a hotel suite with another man. A younger man who happens to work directly under you. How exactly am I supposed to feel about that? You're supposed to trust me. She said it like a challenge. After 19 years, I would think I've earned that. Trust goes both ways. And you didn't trust me enough to have an honest conversation about this before you left. Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Her voice rose, getting jealous and possessive over a work arrangement I didn't even choose. Company policy, right? I kept my tone even. That's what you said. Yes. Company policy. Interesting. Because I would have thought a company as big as Blackstone would have clearer guidelines about opposite gender employees sharing rooms. Another pause, longer this time. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. Just making an observation. I walked to the kitchen window, looking out at the darkening street. Have a good evening, Monica. I'm sure you and Dominic have early meetings tomorrow. Gerald. I ended the call. My phone rang again immediately. I let go to voicemail. Then it rang a third time. I turned it face down on the counter and left it there. Taylor appeared in the kitchen doorway. Everything okay? Fine. Just tired. I opened the fridge, stared at its contents without really seeing them. You finish your homework? Yeah. She hesitated. Dad, Mom sounded upset. She'll be fine. Is she coming home Thursday like she planned? That's the plan. I closed the fridge. You hungry? I can make grilled cheese. Taylor studied my face for a moment, then nodded. Sure. Extra cheese. Obviously. While I made sandwiches, Taylor sat at the counter scrolling through her phone. Then she stopped, her expression shifting. Dad, did you know Mr. Fletcher is married? I looked up from the stove. Dominic? Yeah. I just looked him up on Facebook. He's married. Has 3 kids. She turned her phone toward me. Why would Mom's company make them share a room if he's married? I looked at the profile picture. Dominic Fletcher with a blonde woman and 3 young children, all smiling at some beach somewhere. The post was from 6 months ago. Good question, I said quietly. Taylor set her phone down. This is weird, right? Like actually weird. I flipped the sandwiches. Yeah, sweetheart. It's actually weird. She didn't say anything else, but I could see her mind working, putting pieces together the same way I had been. The sandwiches were done a few minutes later. We ate in silence, both of us thinking about things we didn't want to say out loud yet. My phone stayed face down on the counter. For missed calls from Monica by the time I went to bed. I didn't listen to any of them. The email from Richard Kellerman came at 9:15 the next morning. I was in my warehouse office reviewing purchase orders when my personal email pinged. Mr. Thornton, thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. We are conducting an internal review of the Denver trip expenses and accommodations. This review is confidential and ongoing. Please do not discuss this matter with anyone at Blackstone Logistics, including your wife, as it may compromise the integrity of our investigation. We will contact you if additional information is needed. I read it 3 times. Internal review. Investigation. Confidential. This was real. This was happening. I forwarded the email to a separate folder and deleted it from my inbox. Then I called my attorney, Frank Patterson, a guy I'd used for business contracts and property disputes. Frank, I need advice. Family law advice. Gerald. Frank sounded surprised. We usually talked about supply chain issues. What's going on? I gave him the brief version. The trip, the shared suite, the email to the CFO. Frank listened without interrupting. Okay, he said finally. First thing, don't do anything else without talking to me. Second, start documenting everything. Every conversation, every text, every inconsistency. Third, don't confront Monica directly until we know what we're dealing with. I already confronted her. How'd that go? She hung up on me. Or I hung up on her. Hard to say. Frank sighed. Gerald, I'm going to be straight with you. If this is what it looks like, you need to prepare for the possibility that your marriage is already over. The question is whether you want to be ahead of it or behind it when everything falls apart. Ahead, I said without hesitation. Good. Come by my office tomorrow. Bring any financial documents you have. Bank statements, property deeds, business records. We'll start building a file. After I hung up, I sat at my desk staring at nothing. 24 hours ago, I was washing dishes in my kitchen. Now I was talking to a divorce attorney. Monica called at lunch. I let it ring through. She texted an hour later. We need to talk. Call me. I didn't respond. At 3 p.m., my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then figured it might be a supplier. Mr. Thornton. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. This is Patricia Reeves from Blackstone Logistics Human Resources. Do you have a few minutes? My pulse quickened. Sure. We're following up on the expense inquiry you submitted to Mr. Kellerman. I need to ask you some questions about your wife's travel patterns. Has Mrs. Thornton mentioned previous trips where she shared accommodations with Mr. Fletcher? I thought back through the last year. She mentioned working with him on several projects. I don't know specific details about past trips. Have you noticed any changes in her behavior recently? Increased phone usage, unexplained absences, defensive reactions when asked about work. Every question felt like a scalpel cutting deeper. Yes to all three. Thank you. That's helpful. Papers rustled in the background. Mr. Thornton, I want to be clear that we take workplace relationships very seriously, especially when they involve supervisors and direct reports. If our investigation confirms policy violations, there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? That depends on what we find. But I can tell you that Blackstone has a zero-tolerance policy for romantic relationships between managers and their subordinates. It creates liability issues. After we hung up, I sat there processing what she'd just told me. Romantic relationships. Liability issues. Zero tolerance. This wasn't just about a hotel room anymore. This was about Monica's entire career. And somewhere in Denver, in that suite with the mountain views, she had no idea the ground was crumbling beneath her feet. Monica came home Thursday evening, 2 hours later than her original flight time. No explanation, just a text saying her meeting ran over. I was in the kitchen making spaghetti when I heard her car pull into the driveway. Taylor and Justin were upstairs doing homework. I told them to stay in their rooms until I called them for dinner. They understood without me having to explain why. Monica walked in carrying her roller bag, her face carefully neutral. She set the bag by the stairs and came into the kitchen. Hi, she said. Welcome back. I kept stirring the sauce. She stood there for a moment, then crossed her arms. We need to talk about what you did. Agreed. But not here. Not with the kids home. I turned off the burner. Tomorrow morning, after I drop Justin at school. We'll talk then. Gerald, you contacted my company. You started an investigation that could destroy my career. We need to discuss this now. I turned to face her. Did you share a hotel suite with Dominic Fletcher for 3 nights? Yes, but did that suite include amenities like couples spa access and champagne service? Her jaw tightened. The company booked those amenities. I didn't request them. But you didn't decline them either. You didn't call me and say, hey, this looks inappropriate. Maybe I should request separate rooms. You just went along with it and expected me to accept it without question. Because it was a work trip. How many times do I have to say that? Monica, Dominic is married with 3 kids. Did his wife know about this arrangement? She blinked. I don't know. That's not my concern. It should have been. Because when married people share hotel suites with other married people, especially when one is the other's supervisor, it raises questions. Questions that HR is now asking. You had no right. I had every right. My voice rose for the first time. I'm your husband. When something doesn't add up, I'm allowed to ask questions. And when those questions get deflected and dismissed, I'm allowed to dig deeper. Monica's eyes were bright with anger. You humiliated me. Patricia Reeves grilled me for an hour about my relationship with Dominic. They're reviewing all my travel records. They've suspended my travel privileges pending investigation. Then maybe you shouldn't have put yourself in a position that warranted investigation. She stared at me like I was a stranger. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm not doing anything. I asked one question. If that question caused your world to fall apart, then your world was built on something pretty shaky. Justin appeared in the doorway. Is dinner ready? Monica turned away, wiping her eyes. I need to unpack. She grabbed her bag and went upstairs. I heard our bedroom door close. Justin looked at me. Everything okay? Dinner's ready, I said. Go get your sister. We ate in near silence. The empty chair at the table speaking louder than any of us. After the kids went back upstairs, I sat at the dining room table with Frank Patterson's business card in front of me. Tomorrow morning, I'd be making another call. Because whatever Monica was hiding, whatever truth she was protecting, it was about to come out, and I needed to be ready for it. Friday morning, I met Frank Patterson at his office downtown. Monica had left early for work without saying goodbye, which told me everything about where we stood. Frank's office smelled like leather and old books. He sat across from me with a yellow legal pad, taking notes while I laid out everything. The trip, the suite, the corporate investigation, Monica's defensive reactions. Okay, Frank said when I finished. First question, do you want to save this marriage? I've been asking myself that all night. I don't know if there's anything left to save. Fair answer. Second question, what's your financial situation? I walked him through it. The warehouse business was mine, established before the marriage. The house was jointly owned, bought 12 years ago. Savings accounts, retirement funds, 2 cars. Standard middle-class assets accumulated over 19 years. Kids are 17 and 14, Frank said, making notes. Ohio's a shared parenting state, unless there's cause otherwise. You have any concerns about Monica's parenting? No. She's a good mother. This isn't about the kids. Everything's about the kids in divorce court. Frank set down his pen. Gerald, I'm going to be straight with you. If Monica's having an affair, we need proof. Corporate investigations are helpful, but they're not the same as evidence of infidelity. Do you have access to her phone records? Email, text messages. Some. We share a cloud account. Start documenting. Screenshots, timestamps, anything unusual. But don't hack her devices or install tracking software. That can backfire legally. He pulled out a form. I'm going to draft a separation agreement. Basic terms, asset protection, temporary custody arrangement. You don't have to use it, but if this goes south quickly, you'll want it ready. How quickly could this go south? Corporate investigations move fast when liability's involved. If Blackstone finds evidence of inappropriate conduct, they'll terminate one or both employees. Monica loses her income, gets defensive, might try to claim you sabotaged her career. Frank leaned back. She could file for divorce first, try to control the narrative. You need to be prepared for that. I sat there processing. 2 weeks ago, I was washing dishes and checking inventory sheets. Now I was discussing divorce strategy with an attorney. What do I tell the kids? Nothing yet. Not until you know what you're dealing with. Frank stood up. Go home. Document everything. And Gerald, don't let guilt make you stupid. If she's cheating, that's on her, not you. I drove back to the warehouse, feeling hollowed out. My operations manager, Pete, was in the office reviewing delivery schedules. Boss, you okay? Pete asked. You look rough. Long week. Monica's trip okay? I almost laughed at that. It was interesting. My phone buzzed. Text from Taylor. Dad, can you pick me up after school? Need to talk. I texted back. Sure. 3:15. When I picked her up that afternoon, she got in the truck and immediately said, Mom's being weird. How so? She's been in the bedroom on her phone all day. I heard her crying earlier. Taylor looked at me. Dad, what's really going on? I gripped the steering wheel. Your mom and I are going through some things. Adult things that we need to work out. Is she cheating on you? The question hit like a fist. Why would you ask that? Because I'm not stupid. The trip, the weird hotel thing, the way you guys aren't talking. Taylor's voice shook. Mr. Fletcher's married, Dad. I looked him up. Why would Mom share a room with a married guy unless something was going on? I pulled over into a parking lot and turned off the engine. Taylor, I don't know what's happening yet, but I promise you, when I do know, I'll tell you the truth. She wiped her eyes. I don't want you guys to get divorced. I know, sweetheart, but if she did something wrong, I don't want you to just forgive her and pretend everything's fine. That's not fair to you. I pulled her into a hug. 17 years old and already understanding things she shouldn't have to understand. Whatever happens, I said quietly, you and Justin will be okay. That's my priority. She nodded against my shoulder. We sat there in that parking lot for 10 minutes before driving home, both of us knowing that our family was changing in ways we couldn't control. Monday morning brought the news I'd been expecting. Patricia Reeves from Blackstone HR called at 9:30 while I was at the warehouse. Mr. Thornton, I wanted to inform you directly. We've completed our investigation into the Denver trip. Her voice was professional, detached. We found multiple policy violations. Mrs. Thornton and Mr. Fletcher have been placed on administrative leave effective immediately. What kind of violations? Inappropriate use of company funds, failure to disclose a personal relationship between a supervisor and direct report, and falsification of expense reports. Mr. Fletcher claimed business dinners that were actually personal in nature. Mrs. Thornton approved those expenses despite the conflict of interest. So there it was. Not just a suite, a pattern of deception going back months. What happens next? I asked. That depends on the final review. But I can tell you that Mr. Fletcher's employment will likely be terminated. Mrs. Thornton's situation is more complex given her seniority, but her position as HR manager makes the violations particularly serious. After the call, I sat in my office trying to process. Monica had built her entire career at Blackstone over 12 years. Now it was crumbling because she couldn't maintain professional boundaries with a subordinate. She called me an hour later, her voice raw. They suspended me, Gerald. Effective immediately. I had to turn in my badge and laptop in front of everyone. I heard. You heard. Her voice rose. You knew this was coming and didn't warn me? Monica, I didn't know anything. HR doesn't consult with me. They conduct investigations based on facts. Facts you gave them. You started this. No, you started this when you decided to share a hotel suite with a married subordinate. I just asked questions. Dominic and I never. She stopped abruptly. Never what? Never crossed a line. Because the expense reports say otherwise. The texts say otherwise. Silence. What texts? She finally asked, her voice small. The ones recovered from company devices. The ones where you complained about me. Where you and Dominic made plans for private dinners. Where you created a relationship that went beyond professional. Who told you about those? Does it matter? The point is they exist. And now there are consequences. Monica started crying. I'm going to lose my job. We're going to lose my income. How are we supposed to afford the mortgage, the kids' expenses? We'll figure it out. My business is solid. But Monica, we need to have a different conversation about what comes next for us. What do you mean? I mean, I can't stay married to someone I don't trust. Someone who lies and deflects and blames everyone except herself. Gerald, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't think counseling fixes what's broken here. I think we need space to figure out what we actually want. Are you asking for a divorce? I looked out the window of my warehouse, at the trucks loading lumber, at the business I'd built through honest work and clear principles. I'm saying we need to separate, at least temporarily. You can stay with your sister or find an apartment. But I can't live with you right now. What about the kids? They'll split time between us. We'll work it out like adults. But Monica, this marriage is on life support, and I'm not sure it's worth reviving. She was still crying when we hung up. I felt something, but it wasn't guilt. It was relief. Like I'd finally stopped carrying a weight I didn't know I'd been bearing. That evening, I told Taylor and Justin that their mother would be staying elsewhere for a while. Taylor hugged me and said it was probably for the best. Justin just nodded and went back to his room. Later, Taylor came to my office while I was reviewing Frank Patterson's separation agreement. Dad, I'm proud of you. I looked up surprised. For what? For not letting her walk all over you. For standing up for yourself. She sat down across from me. A lot of dads would have just accepted it and pretended everything was fine. Your mother and I have issues to work through. But I won't lie to you about what's happening. Good. Because Justin and I aren't stupid. We know something was going on. She paused. Is Mr. Fletcher married? He was. I don't know if he still is after this. Taylor nodded slowly. Mom always said she was a professional. Guess that wasn't true. I didn't respond to that. Some truths the kids needed to discover on their own. But Taylor was right about one thing. I wasn't going to be the husband who accepted betrayal quietly. I'd built a business on integrity. My marriage deserved the same standard. And if Monica couldn't meet that standard, then maybe we were both better off apart. 2 weeks later, Monica signed the separation agreement. She'd moved into a furnished apartment across town, taken most of her clothes and personal items. The house felt emptier, but also cleaner somehow, like removing something that had been rotting behind the walls. Blackstone's final decision came down on a Wednesday. Patricia Reeves called me as a courtesy. Mr. Fletcher has been terminated effective immediately. Mrs. Thornton has been offered a choice: resign with a severance package or face formal termination proceedings that would include full disclosure of the investigation findings. What did she choose? She's taking the severance. 3 months' pay, continued health insurance for 6 months, and a neutral reference. In exchange, she signs a non-disclosure agreement and doesn't contest the findings. So Monica was unemployed. Part of me felt bad for her. The larger part recognized she'd made her own bed. Frank Patterson filed the formal separation papers that Friday. Under Ohio law, we needed to be separated for a year before divorce. But the papers established custody arrangements, financial responsibilities, and asset division. Taylor had chosen to stay primarily with me. Justin was splitting time 50-50. Monica was devastated by Taylor's choice, but didn't fight it. She's old enough to decide, Frank had said, and judges usually honor teenage preferences. I'd started seeing a therapist, Dr. Helen Grant, recommended by Frank. She specialized in helping people navigate divorce and family transitions. You're handling this remarkably well, Dr. Grant said during our third session. Most people in your position would be angrier. I was angry. Now I'm just tired. I leaned back in her office chair. I spent 19 years building something I thought was solid. Turns out it had cracks I didn't see. Or didn't want to see. Maybe. Monica was distant for months. I noticed but told myself it was work stress. Easier than confronting the alternative. And now that you've confronted it, now I'm focused on what I can control. My business, my kids, moving forward. Dr. Grant nodded. That's healthy. But don't suppress the grief. Divorce is a death. It's okay to mourn what you lost. I thought about that driving home. Was I mourning? Or was I relieved? Hard to say. Maybe both. That weekend, Taylor helped me reorganize the house. We boxed up Monica's remaining things, rearranged furniture, made the space feel like ours instead of shrine to what used to be. You think Mom's okay? Taylor asked while we worked. She's struggling, but she's an adult. She'll figure it out. Do you still love her? I stopped folding laundry. I love the person I thought she was. I'm not sure that person actually existed. Taylor absorbed that. That's sad. Yeah, it is. But it's also honest. And honest is better than pretending. Justin came out of his room later, skateboard under his arm. Dad, can we get pizza tonight? Mom always made that weird casserole on Saturdays. I laughed. Pizza sounds perfect. We ordered 3 large pizzas and ate them in the living room watching basketball. No casserole, no tension, just us being comfortable in our own space. Monica called during the game. I let it go to voicemail. She'd been calling daily, sometimes crying, sometimes angry, always wanting something I couldn't give her anymore. Absolution. The voicemail was short. Gerald, please. We need to talk about really fixing this. I've been thinking about everything, and I understand now why you're upset. Call me. I deleted it without responding. Taylor noticed. You're not calling her back? Not tonight. Tonight's about us. She smiled and went back to the game. Later, after the kids went to bed, I sat on the back deck with a beer and looked at the stars. Fall was settling in, the air crisp and clean. My phone buzzed. Text from Frank Patterson. Heads up. Monica's attorney reached out. She wants to negotiate custody and alimony. Be prepared for pushback. I texted back. Let them push. I'm not budging on what's fair. The thing about building a business from nothing is you learn to spot bad deals. You learn when to walk away, when to stand firm, when to protect your assets. Monica was a bad deal now. Not because I hated her, but because staying tied to someone who'd proven untrustworthy was throwing good money after bad. Frank had been right weeks ago. My marriage was over. The question wasn't whether to save it. The question was how to end it with dignity and protect what mattered. My kids, my business, my peace of mind. And for the first time in months, I felt like I actually had a plan. 8 months after Monica moved out, life had settled into a new rhythm. The divorce was finalized in June, 3 months earlier than typical, because we'd avoided contested litigation. Frank Patterson had negotiated a clean split. Monica got her severance money and half the home equity when we sold the house. I kept the business, the kids stayed primarily with me, and we moved forward. I bought a smaller house in Westerville, closer to the warehouse. 3 bedrooms, decent yard, nothing fancy but comfortable. Taylor had her own space for studying. Justin had room for his gaming setup, and I had a home office where I could work without memories haunting every corner. The warehouse business had grown 20% since the divorce. Turned out I'd been distracted for years, running on autopilot, while Monica's drama consumed mental energy I didn't realize I was spending. Now, focused and clear-headed, I'd landed 3 major contractor accounts and hired 2 additional warehouse staff. Pete, my operations manager, noticed the change. Boss, whatever's different about you this past year, keep it up. You're sharper, more decisive. Divorce will do that, I said with a slight smile. Clears away the noise. Taylor was thriving. She'd been accepted to Ohio State with a partial scholarship. During her graduation party in May, she pulled me aside. "Dad, I need to tell you something. I'm glad you didn't stay with Mom. I know that sounds harsh, but watching you become yourself again this past year has been incredible. You're happier, more present. That's worth more than keeping a broken marriage together." I hugged her, throat tight. "That means everything, sweetheart." Justin was adjusting too. He saw Monica every other weekend, but he told me privately that her apartment felt sad, like she was stuck replaying her victimhood on loop. He preferred being home, where things felt stable. Monica herself had found work at a smaller logistics company, entry-level position, significant pay cut. She tried dating briefly, some guy she met through a friend, but that fizzled within weeks. Her social circle had shrunk dramatically. Most of our married friends had quietly chosen sides, and I'd gotten the majority. She called me in July, asking if we could talk about reconciliation. I declined gently but firmly. "Monica, we're different people who want different things. The marriage is over. We need to focus on co-parenting and moving forward separately." She cried, but I hadn't wavered. Some doors, once closed, shouldn't be reopened. Dominic Fletcher's life had imploded spectacularly. His wife filed for divorce immediately after his termination, taking primary custody of their 3 kids and the house. He'd moved back to his parents' place in Toledo, working retail management. I'd heard through the professional grapevine that he was persona non grata in corporate logistics. I didn't feel satisfaction about his downfall, just a distant acknowledgement that actions have consequences. Dr. Grant, my therapist, asked during our final session if I had any regrets. "One," I said. "I regret not trusting my instincts sooner. I knew something was wrong for months. I should have acted earlier." "And what did you learn?" "That integrity isn't negotiable. That silence enables bad behavior. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is saying no and mean it." She smiled. "You've come a long way, Gerald." I had. From that kitchen conversation in September to this moment of clarity and peace. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been necessary. And I'd emerged stronger, clearer, more myself than I'd been in years. 14 months after that fateful Tuesday when Monica announced her Denver trip, I stood in my warehouse on a crisp November morning, reviewing expansion plans with Pete and our new business consultant. The building materials business had outgrown its current facility. We were looking at a larger warehouse across town, triple the square footage, room for additional product lines and staff. A significant investment, but the numbers supported it. "This is ambitious, boss," Pete said, studying the financial projections. "But solid. You've built something real here." I had. What started as one truck and determination had become a thriving operation employing 23 people. My father would have been proud. He'd built things with his hands too, understood the value of honest work and keeping your word. Taylor called during lunch. She was 3 months into her freshman year at Ohio State, studying business management. "Dad, I need advice. There's this guy in my economics class. He asked me out. Should I go? Do you want to?" "Yeah, but I'm nervous. What if he's like Mom? What if I can't trust my judgment?" "Taylor, you're not your mother. You're thoughtful, honest, and you've seen firsthand what betrayal looks like. That awareness is your protection. Go on the date. Trust yourself. And if something feels wrong, you'll know." She laughed softly. "When did you become so wise? Divorce teaches you things, mostly about what you won't tolerate anymore." That evening, Justin and I watched basketball in the living room. During halftime, he asked, "Dad, you ever think about dating again?" "Sometimes. Not actively looking, but I'm open to it eventually." "Good. You shouldn't be alone forever, just because Mom messed up." Out of the mouths of 15-year-olds. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Taylor's friend from high school, now also at Ohio State, dropping off something Taylor had left in her car. "Mr. Thornton? Taylor wanted me to give you this." She handed me a framed photo. She said you'd understand. It was a picture from my warehouse grand opening 15 years ago. Me, younger, standing in front of my first delivery truck with a huge grin. Monica was in the photo too, standing beside me, but Taylor had carefully cropped it, so only I remained. The note attached said, "This is who you really are. Someone who builds things that last. Love you, Dad." I set the frame on my desk in the home office, next to my business licenses and contractor certifications. Evidence of what I'd built through integrity and hard work. Monica had texted me that morning, asking if we could have coffee and talk. I'd politely declined. We had nothing left to discuss beyond logistics involving Justin's schedule. The past was settled. The future was mine to shape. Frank Patterson called that afternoon with final paperwork. That's it, Gerald. Divorce officially concluded. All assets divided, custody formalized. You're a free man. Thanks for everything, Frank. You handled this better than most. Kept your head, protected your interests, didn't let emotion override strategy. That's rare. After we hung up, I sat in my office thinking about that word. Strategy. I'd approached the end of my marriage the same way I approached business. Clearly, decisively, without compromising my principles. Some people might call that cold. I called it survival. That Saturday, I took Justin to his basketball tournament. Sitting in the bleachers, watching my son play with focus and joy, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not happiness exactly, because happiness felt temporary, conditional. This was deeper. The quiet satisfaction of a life built on solid ground. Monica was somewhere else, living her separate story, dealing with consequences she'd earned. I wished her no ill will, but I also felt no obligation to her anymore. My obligations were my kids, my business, my own peace of mind, and I was meeting all of them. The game ended. Justin's team won. He ran over, sweaty and grinning. Did you see that three-pointer in the fourth quarter? Saw it. That was clutch. We headed to the parking lot, planning where to grab dinner, talking about nothing and everything. Normal, comfortable, honest. Exactly what life should be. Behind me, literally and figuratively, was a marriage built on obligation and illusion. Ahead was possibility, freedom, and the knowledge that I'd stood up for myself when it mattered most. I'd sent that invoice to Monica's CFO on a Tuesday night in September, not knowing it would trigger an avalanche that would reshape my entire existence. Looking back now, I wouldn't change a thing. Because sometimes the strongest move isn't trying to save something broken. It's recognizing the break, documenting it, and walking away with dignity. I'd done exactly that, and I was better for it.